Have you ever just stopped and thought about the absolute magic that happens in the palm of your hand? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that digital world and meet the invisible guardians who make it all possible. Let's jump right in.
It really does feel like magic, right? You tap an icon and boom, your most sensitive financial info just appears in an instant. But here's the thing, it's not magic. It's actually a super complex, lightning-fast conversation. And to really get it, we need to start with one fundamental idea.
Okay, picture this. Not that long ago, finding your information meant a person had to physically walk into a room, yank open a filing cabinet, and sort through piles of paper. It was slow, it was full of potential mistakes, and honestly, not very secure. The digital world totally changed that game, giving us instant, secure access. But to build that, we first had to figure out how to manage an absolute flood of raw facts.
And it all starts with this thing we call data. The best way to think about data is like a chaotic rain of random letters and numbers. I mean, a number like 500 or a name like Azmera, on its own, it doesn't mean a thing. It's just raw, unorganized noise.
But this is where the real magic starts to kick in. When we take that raw data and we organize it, just put it into a simple structure like this table, it completely transforms. All of a sudden, it's not just the number 500, it's an account balance. It's not just a random name, it's a customer. The chaos becomes truly useful information.
So, where do we keep all this valuable, organized information? We store it in what's called a database. And honestly, the best way to think of a database is as a massive, super secure digital warehouse. It's built not just to hold stuff, but to protect it and keep it perfectly organized.
But it's a huge mistake to think of this warehouse as just one big box. It's way more than that. It's actually a really complex ecosystem with a bunch of crucial parts that all have to work together perfectly.
So let's look at those core components. First, you've got the actual physical machines, the hardware, where everything lives. Then you have the software, which is like the smart engine that does all the work. Then there's the data itself, right? The valuable info we're trying to protect. And finally, you have the users. That's everyone from the experts running the whole show to, well, people like you and me.
This brings up a really important question. If you have this gigantic, secure warehouse filled with millions and millions of pieces of information, how on earth do you ask it for the one specific thing you need? I mean, you can't just shout into the server room. You need a special language. And that special language is called SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language. It lets someone write a really simple script, a very precise instruction that basically asks the database a question. Something like, hey, show me the full name and account balance for all of my active customers. It's how we find a tiny needle in a digital haystack, like instantly. Okay, so we've got the secure warehouse, that's our database, and we've got the language, SQL, to talk to it. But who's the architect here? Who's the one who keeps this entire, absolutely critical ecosystem running smoothly and safely?
I want you to meet the Database Administrator, or DBA for short. But administrator, it just doesn't quite capture what they do. A much better title is the Guardian of the Data. These are the highly skilled pros responsible for the entire database ecosystem, top to bottom.
So what's the mission for these guardians? Well, it's a constant three-part challenge. Every single day, they are juggling three critical priorities: keeping it secure, keeping it fast, and making sure it is always on. So let's break down what that really means day to day.
First up, and this is a big one, security. In a world with constant digital threats, the DBA is literally on the front lines. A huge part of their daily job is deciding exactly who gets to see what data, building up digital walls and encrypting information to make it unreadable to outsiders. They are constantly monitoring for anything suspicious. They are the gatekeepers.
Next on the daily list is performance. Remember that split-second speed we talked about? Yeah, that's not an accident. A massive part of a DBA's day is being a kind of digital mechanic, fine-tuning the database engine, rewriting those SQL queries to be more efficient, and just making sure the hardware has what it needs. When your app feels snappy and quick, you've got a DBA to thank for that.
And finally, there's availability. This is all about disaster prevention. What happens if a server physically breaks or a power outage hits the data center? Well, the DBA is already planned for it. Their job is to design and constantly test backup and recovery systems so that if the worst happens, they can bring everything back online in minutes, not hours. They make sure the digital bank never, ever closes its doors.
So when you put these three daily missions together, security, performance, and availability, you start to realize something pretty profound. This isn't just a tech job. This role is the invisible backbone of our entire modern economy. Think about it.
Banking, healthcare, shopping, social media, everything runs on data, and DBAs are the people who keep it all safe, fast, and running.
And it all comes down to this. Success for them is measured in microseconds. A DBA's job is to build and maintain these incredible systems that can find one specific piece of information among millions or even billions and deliver it to you securely, all in the blink of an eye.
So, the next time you check your balance, or book a flight, or even just scroll through your social feed, maybe just take a second to think about that complex world working behind the scenes. And maybe, just maybe, you'll think about that invisible guardian whose daily mission is to make sure it all just works.